recap, once again, we have 4 primary members in the room, 1 alternate, so we have a quorum. With the members in the room, I will ask, are we going to allow the others to be connected to the meeting? John's saying no, but I know he means yes. So, that is a unanimous that we will allow everybody else to be connected. So everyone will have.
Would you do a roll call?
Commentary? Yes, I will do roll call. We will hear in a second. What this means is everyone will be allowed to comment just like we are in the room for the CORC meeting. And then it will only be the primary members that will be allowed to vote on anything. If you vote and you're an alternate, it won't matter. You can definitely still vote, but if vote won't count, it'll only count for the primary members listed. So with that said, let's do a roll call. And how should I do that with the people that are online? Dave?
Well, we got to do them by the sheet. Here, you have your sheet and read off the members and the alternate members.
I have that here. I do. Okay, Bill Huckel, yes or no? I'm not hearing anything from Bill, so I'm assuming he's not on. I'm on and I'm listed as a primary. Frank Simon?
This is Bill.
Oh, good, Bill. Okay, you're there. Good, excellent. Okay, Frank Simon, are you on? Frank was on. Let's see if he's still listed. Don't know. Let's come back to Frank.
I can
John
see him
Chesser's here.
I can see Frank Simon on the screen. He's still here.
Okay. All right, good. Frank's here. John Chesser's here. Ken Lassiter's here. Leah Gaines. Leah, are you on? Okay, not hearing anything yet. Lou Doctor is here. Michael Gelfand saw you on the screen. Sam Shannon, are you on? Unmute yourself if you need to, Sam. Don't know if you're on or not.
He asked for an excused absence.
Okay, thank you. Steve Needs is here in the room. Tom Berger?
He also asked for an excused absence.
Okay, thank you. Frederick? Frederick McCoy on the phone. Okay. Virginia, saw you on there. Still on, Virginia?
I'm here.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. All right, that is our roll call, so we know who's here.
Mr. Huckel is present. He just didn't turn on his microphone.
Right, understood. Yep, thank you. And Jim, I was not making a list of these, so hopefully you or Susan or somebody's making a list of those people.
We are.
Okay, good. Okay, so for the voting members, going down the list, it'll be the primary members, and that consists of me and John Cheshire and Lou Doctor. Let's see, Michael Gelfand's a primary, so is he a voting member, Dave? Because he's, we did. Okay, Michael, you can vote.
Okay.
Steve Needs is here in the room. He can vote, and Tom Berger has an excused absence. So who is Tom's alternate? Is that Tradrick? Yes. And Tradrick was not on the line, so if Tradrick shows up, Tradrick can vote.
Right. If Tradrick shows up, but if not, we don't have a vote for that slot.
Even if he's connected virtually?
Oh, if he is, but
right, if he shows up, period, he can vote. That's what I thought, because he's an alternate. Right, okay.
The same for Ms. Gaines.
Yes, she can vote if on the line. Correct. Okay, we will get down the agenda. It's been weird having to conduct a meeting. All right, so I have nothing else to report going down with agenda item. Does anyone want to report any conflict of interest of anything we're discussing today? And I'm not hearing anyone, and we're not seeing any people waving. To let you know, we still have the screens in the room up. that do show people that are connected. Dave Dolan's computer is still connected, so we can see that, and that's helpful. You just can't see us because we're just connected by phone right now. CORC report, we didn't have a report last month. Lou, you can do something for this month for us? Okay, I think you're muted. I didn't hear anything. You have to do *6. *6 on your phone, then you're able to get unmuted. I'm not hearing you. You might have your mute button on for the phone.
It will.
There you go. Now we can hear you.
I have to watch what I say.
Now you will. Yes. You can do a report for us for this month. Yes, it is. All right. Thank you. No. I think whatever you feel is appropriate. I don't know if they're even taking in person.
No.
Okay, good. Staff updates? We have any?
Jimmy, you want to go through it?
Certainly. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Nice to see you all again. Just to remind you, we did enact an emergency policy for this committee, and the policy allows us to meet in this manner for March, April, May, and June of this year. So we will be having meetings as long as we have a 4-person quorum at each one in person. And Dave, that's really all I had. Is there anything else you'd like me to talk about?
Sorry, there we go. No, the only thing that I was going to mention, and of course, I don't think it's going to work out, but I had a presentation. Well, let me stand corrected. I wanted to let the CORC members know that, I think we got feedback, that our Chief Operating Officer and our Chief Financial Officer made a presentation before the board at a workshop on March 3rd. The meeting, the presentation that the two of them gave, Leanne and I helped prepare, and it was basically a presentation of the success of the program over the last year, what it's gone through, how the finances have changed. I don't want to get into it right now. You can go online and see the video of the board meeting of the workshop, and it'll give you a lot more detail. The thing that I was going to show was there's a video. I'm not going to. The rest of you guys here won't be able to hear it, but let me try to see if I can do it. Okay, I'm going to try this. So what you can't hear is a pretty little bit of music, but there's no audio. There's no audio other than this little music. This is the video that Penn put together for us, based on the work that was done over the course of the last year. It moves rather quickly because there's a lot of work that we did over the course of the last year. That's one of the bright spots. So what I'll suggest is if Leanne Evans is in this, would like, we could kind of do a recap of this whole presentation for you guys again in the future, maybe next month, especially now with the technology challenges we're having. This month wouldn't be a good one. It was Yanni or something like that. So,
Yeah, I did see that video and with the audio, and it was pretty impressive. And it was like, oh my God, we have done a lot of work.
right. So that was one of the points that was made during that presentation, was just that during the course of the COVID shutdown, the school district continued in earnest. Our construction program, in fact, we probably benefited to a certain extent of having empty schools because we got a lot more work done inside the schools. We've talked to you guys on a monthly basis about that progress, but for that video, and I think Mr. Barbieri had even mentioned in the meeting, that's the kind of thing we need to make sure that we're getting out there more, because in fact, we know that in the future, people are going to ask us, what have you done? Have you done what you promised? Promises made, promises kept. And that's part of what we're trying to convey, is that with your help, again, as the CORC members, we're keeping up quite a rapid pace. Again, as I said, we will defer until probably next month if Leanne's up for it, and perhaps we can do that presentation for you guys to go through the nuts and bolts of the finances and where we stand on the progress status. So that's it for us this month. And again, of course, we did a lot of work during spring break, or a bunch of work during spring break. So, but we don't have any pictures because it just ended yesterday.
Okay. Any questions for Dave on that? Anyone online or anyone in the room? And I'm not seeing any.
Yes. David, I have a question.
Michael, go ahead. Yes, go ahead.
Council probably will want to jump in, but we should have at least some type of information as to the impact of the Academy and Maritime decisions on funding and where we're going, even though I would anticipate that we're not going to be getting litigation strategy details.
But Michael, I think I got clarification on that was not the sales tax referendum. That was a different referendum tax that doesn't affect CORC or construction dollars. But I'll let legal chime in to confirm that. They're logging in. Hold on.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
It was a disappointing legal setback. It was a referendum that was approved by 70% of the voters in Palm Beach County in 2018. This was the countywide school question, which gave the district the authority to levy 1 mil of local property tax dedicated for operational needs of non-charter district schools to fund school safety equipment, hire additional school police and mental health professionals, fund arts, music, physical education, career, and choice programs for teachers. So this does not have to do with the construction referendum.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else for staff updates? Dave,
Can you tell us what the result of the decision is? I missed that.
So the circuit court judge in August of 2019 had originally ruled in favor of the school board. That was overturned on appeal recently, this past month. And basically it was a setback for the district. They decided as a full panel of judges that the exclusion of the charter schools from the 2018 referendum was not proper. So basically the appellate court had undone 2 prior decisive rulings that the referendum was in fact legal, and it's undone what amounted to a big win for the taxpayers of Palm Beach County on that issue. It's a disappointing decision. It's going to be, all of the legal options are currently being explored, including any avenues for appeal.
Okay, did that answer the questions that had been brought up?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. All right, public comments, any public comments? I am seeing no one in attendance. Anyone online? Okay, we have 2 people here from public comments. But no public comments. Okay. So we will.
Please announce for us out loud who you are so we can include you in the meeting minutes.
John Levinson, representing the Quokich and
Cannot hear.
Okay, that was
Yeah, they can't connect, but there's 2 people here, one from Vertex and John Levinson representing Wharton Smith. So we will make sure that they are logged into being in attendance.
thanks.
Okay, agenda items. We now are down to consent agenda. So we'll see how this goes in terms of figuring out who wants to pull what. I wanted to pull FC1 still. John wants to pull that. Anyone online want to pull FC1? I'll give a second for anybody to log in. Okay, FC2. John. FC3. FC4. FC5, FC6. Anyone online, just chime in, even if you're behind and I'm too fast for this process here. FC7, FC8, PC1, PC2, PC3, PC4, PC5, PC6, and PC7, PC8, PC9, PC10, John, PC11, PC12, PC13. Okay, to keep this simple, I need a motion in the room here instead of trying to get people online that the ones that were not pulled are acceptable. So moved by Lou. Need a second? Second by John. All in favor of the ones here who can vote? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Michael? Michael, are you in favor of those going forward? Still on, Michael?
No opposition on the pre-qualifications. I would need to just take another look at that list just to make certain I don't have any conflicts, and I don't think that I do. But on the other ones, no opposition.
Okay, then that's unanimous that we will move forward on the ones that have not been pulled. So I pulled and John pulled FC1, so let's go through those. John, go ahead first.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
I have several on this that I had sent in questions and I wasn't really satisfied with the answers, I guess.
Before we go any further, John, I just want to know that we need to record individual members of the board, so we do need to do it in that John,
Okay. Okay. So let's back up a second and we will go through the consent agenda and do individual votes as to moving forward with the ones that were not approved. John?
Yes.
Lou?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Michael, you're a yes? Michael Gelfand?
Yes.
Okay, then that's back to unanimous. All right, we are back to John. Go ahead on FC1.
Yeah, my first one is item number 4. Dave, are you going to show that on the screen?
I'm trying to do this.
Because this is going to be hard to do. But I'll go ahead and get started. This one, the description was make lighting location changes, switch controlled outlet changes, cable tray width changes, and I think it was labeled as a design omission. And I said, shouldn't it be a design error? Because it sounded like changes. They had to change something. But the answer I got back was that the designer had omitted items. So I wasn't clear when the description says a change, but then you come back and the designer says it's an omission. They're two different things. Could I get any more explanation on that or not?
And I'm sorry, John, which one is it?
Number 4.
Okay, this is adulted.
Yeah.
Is Glenn on the call? Or Jim, do you want to respond to this?
Yeah, sure. So the omission identified in an RFI identified some omissions. So, and those omissions required changes to the fixtures, pole stations, cable trays. So that's what I'm trying to say, John.
Okay, well, that's just not clear to me, but I'll accept your answer, I guess, so we can move on. The next one is number 5. This has got to do with putting sprinkler heads in the elevator shaft. And I said, isn't that a code requirement? And this should be an omission. And the answer came back, the engineer of record says, no, it's not required. But the inspector came back and said it was required. Well, it's either in the code or it's not. And I've dealt with this before, and it is in the code, so I don't know why the engineer of record is saying, no, they weren't required. But that's just my opinion, and if, Jim, if you got anything to say?
No, I do. That's fine. I was reading right out of the document, so I will definitely check that, John, and if it's correct, we'll change it to an omission. Thank you.
The next one is number 12, Dave. Yes.
One condensate drain.
This is, let's see.
On this call.
This one is, there was 2 drains from an air handling unit going to a common drain, and we paid the CM to move one drain because it was a trip hazard. But I don't know why we paid the CM to remove a trip hazard. He can't make a trip hazard, and then we pay him to correct it. And the answer was the correct solution was not evident until after the GMP. But aren't we talking like small pipe, 2-inch pipe or something?
Angel, are you on the line?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
So, John, the intent, we had an existing large air conditioning unit in that mechanical room, and it had a floor drain for the condensate drain. The intent was to replace, the design intent is to replace that large air handler unit with 2 smaller air handler units, and we were trying to utilize the existing drain, the existing floor drain, for efficiency, so that both smaller units would drain into that drain. What we did not have at the time of the design was the actual manufacturer of the unit and how the configuration of the discharge for the condensate drains from each of the units would lay out in the room. Once that was in construction, once the submittals were in, we had the manufacturer and we could set the units in the room. We realized that the way that they were configured, the drains weren't coming from the back of the units. They were switched differently, coming from the front. And so what happened is we had 2 lines, 2 condensate drain lines between the 2 units draining into that floor drain, causing a tripping hazard for any maintenance worker who would actually be between the 2 units servicing the units. So the intent was good during design. We had 1 floor drain. We had 2 units. We said, let's be efficient. Let's have both units drain into that floor drain. But the way, once we got the manufacturer, because we had the Daikin, we had Train, and we had York, so we didn't know which one we were going to go with. Once we had the actual manufacturer on board during construction and they gave us the configuration of those units, the drains were discharging from the front of the units and therefore causing the tripping hazard. And we needed to access the space in between the units to service the units. So we ended up using the existing drain from one of the units and what we did was we added an additional floor drain to pick up the other unit. So the intent was good, it just didn't work out in the field.
Okay, so the description said it was to provide and install one condensate drain. So you're saying that's the floor drain you're talking about?
Yes, sir. So we had one existing floor drain already there, which we were trying to utilize for both units. We ended up adding an additional floor drain for the other unit. So we ended up with two floor drains.
All right, I understand. Thank you. Let's see, next would be I don't have anything specific. There was just a general comment that somebody made, Dave, about too many A&E emissions or design errors. And I've been on CORC, I guess, for, 10 years or something like that. And I have never, ever seen a design and error report or an architect closeout where you listed all the design and error emissions. I think that's a requirement of the O&E policy that when you do a closeout that you come back to us and show us the design and errors that were attributed to the architect or engineer on those particular projects. And I don't think we've ever done that. And the response to that comment here was that you will complete the required analysis and present the findings to CORC. But isn't that, have we just been seeing it all along, or what's been going on?
No, John, you're absolutely right. We used to do that. We haven't done it yet for you on the FCA projects, but we certainly can. And I think we talked about it at a previous meeting about bringing you the list and the results of the analyses for the ones we've closed out. We do intend to do that. And if Mr. Dolan says it's okay, we can do it at the next meeting.
Absolutely.
But why haven't you been doing it all along, I guess?
Well, we've been recording it. We just haven't been presenting them to you.
Isn't that a requirement of the policy for us to review it?
No, it's something you desire, though, I think. So we should do it.
Yeah, I thought it was a requirement of the policy that it had to come to us, but I'll double check the policy and see. But yeah, Dave Porter would have to weigh in, but I think that's something we'd want to see because we see these all the time, all these change orders and CCUAs where it's a E&O, and we kind of like to see what the history is with each particular architect and engineer.
I think that's reasonable.
And I know you were asking for the I remember that. Kind of what I mentioned previously to you about the fact that project, a lot of the work got done, when the work that needed to be done. The paperwork needed to follow. That's why we're seeing a lot of the information now. I'm seeing a lot of AE follow up, and as well as a lot of change orders now.
Okay. That's all I had on FC1, David.
Okay, I had one on item number 7, and I wasn't completely satisfied with the answer that came back. And number 7 was adult ed again. Furnish and install wall tile around the hand dryers and bathroom accessories in 18 restrooms. So my first question is, does the architect specify all the bathroom accessories, or is that something provided after the fact by the district to be installed? Dave or Jim?
Well, Glenn, I think you're on. Can you answer that question?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I was trying to chime in before. I guess I had myself muted twice, but on those bathroom accessories, no, those were actually ahead of time. We had actually had a floor-to-ceiling wall tile. We did a VE item on it. When we did the VE item, the only thing that the architect actually caught was the mirrors. We didn't catch the I guess they didn't think that the hand towel dispensers and the hand dryers that we put in were going to have the problem being half on the tile and half on the regular wall. So that's why we actually went around with it, and that's why we called it an omission.
To me, I guess I would still call that an error. I've had that on a number of my own projects where I kick myself in the tush because the accessories end up coming up higher than the top course of tile. And I've only done that once, because after that, I do not make that error again. So to me, that's still an error. I mean, it was the architect's understanding to lower the tile down, not have full height. And then somebody blew it by not double checking the wall elevations to make sure that the accessories weren't going to exceed the height of the tile. So I knew it had to be done. I'm not arguing with the price, but I'm still in disagreement with it being an omission. To me, that's an error. But you guys can label it as you wish.
Well, that's okay with me, but Mr. Dolan will be the final adjudicator of that.
Yeah, again, that's my opinion. We're an advisory group. It's up to you guys of how you want to handle it. To me, an omission would be something that they would have forgotten on the drawings that then had to be added later, not something that they already told everybody what to do and then it was found to be in error.
Well, I understand and appreciate the difference. Doesn't have any impact on the architect. I don't want them to be a bad mark on the architect. They either omitted it badly or they made a mistake. Like, we're not talking about, are you trying to say that the omissions are not their fault?
No. Omissions to me are different because it's something the district never intended to get. It was missed from the drawings. It's still a cost to the district, even though it was missed from the drawings. But if something has to be reworked, then to me that's an error because it took extra money than just doing it the first time. So, I mean, we could debate the issue. Again, the errors and omissions policy still goes against the architect, whether it's an error or whether it's an omission. I just think the architect should have known something like that, and it wasn't something they omitted, it was something they did in error, and it ended up causing the extra work.
I agree with you. In either way, it ended up being a black mark on the architect.
Yes. Right. Okay. Anyone else online have any other issues or questions on the on FC1?
Mr. Porter, make sure that you poll each individual voter.
Yes. I don't have to do that for motions. I just have to do that for the vote, correct?
Correct.
Okay. I need a motion to move forward with FC1.
I move we move forward with FC1 to the board.
Moving forward.
Okay. I need a second. Second by Lou Doctor. So I will now individually poll people. John?
Yes.
Lou?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Michael? Michael Gelfand, are you a yes to move forward with FC1?
No objection to the board moving forward, correct.
Okay, good. All right, FC2, John, you pulled that.
Yeah, this one really bothered me, gave me a lot of heartburn, even though it's 185 non-compensable calendar days. It's really not non-compensable. I mean, we're waiving liquidated damages, and that's a lot of money, so I don't take this lightly that the contractor really didn't provide a CPM analysis of the delay. And I think my questions reflected that, because I had a lot of questions. For instance, the lighting, just to summarize this he was given a time extension for adding lighting in classrooms and a couple of fire alarm devices. And the lighting was an allowance. And it still should have been shown on his schedule, but it wasn't, in my opinion. And I don't even think any electrical work was shown on his schedule. So it was a real poor schedule to start with. Let's see. Let me look at my question here. And then I had asked about the pricing for the classroom lighting. According to the description, it was finalized in the summer of 2019, but the work didn't start then. It waited until February of 2020 per the revised schedule submitted by the contractor. And the answer I got back was the reality of the schedule is that the electrical components were all extended because of the added lighting scope. But the simple way to show the added time was to show it on the end rather than extend all affected electrical components out. I don't think when we're talking 185 days, we ought to be looking for a simple way out. The contractor should have submitted a detailed delay analysis. Again, another question I had is looking at I'm going to call it a bar chart schedule because that's basically almost what it is. According to that revised schedule, the contractor showed a 2.5 month delay between November 20th, 2019 and February 5th, 2020. And February 5th, 2020 is when the ceiling lighting was started. So there's a delay there between November 20th and February 5th on the contractor's revised schedule. That's just ignored. There's no one responsible for the delay. And the answer I got back was signage and patching schedules were linked to the start of summer. I don't know what that means. Other items were linked to the NTP and material procurement, which then pushed EMS and test and balance into the critical path. But the schedule that the contractor submitted doesn't show any of that. Again, it's just a poor delay schedule. Regarding the additional strobes, and this is just a pet peeve with mine, is that CORC approved the cost for the additional strobes back in, I forget when it was. I think it says here sometime. A long time ago, let's just say. And the contractor didn't say he didn't need any time, but I don't like breaking up the cost and the time. If the contractor needs more money for something, he needs to tell us at that time that he's going to need time with it and not submit a change order later. That's just my opinion from that. Let's see. Oh, the other thing that was poor on the schedule was that it showed the fire alarm strobe replacement could not begin. It was on the critical path with the classroom lighting. And that just doesn't make any sense. What does the lighting have to do with installing a couple of strobes? And again, the answer was just a simple way to show it, the added time without extending other items. I'm not liking the simple answer. I want to see what caused the delay.
Well, can I ask Glenn to join in this call, because Cypress Trails was Glenn's project. Glenn, do you have any feedback you'd like to offer on some of this?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, there we go.
And, I tend to agree with John with their schedule and the poor way of showing it. I know that I worked through this with them. And the lighting, the classroom lighting deal was, a project that was actually should have started when it started, but we actually changed out. Instead of retrofitting, we went to actual changing of lighting fixtures. That's not captured in this, and it's not said in here. So it did take time for the fixtures to come in, and actually what the time that they were going to do it would be over breaks, but they ended up doing those, trying to get most of those done over weekends and nights. The bigger of all of it is the horn strobes was the bigger delay, and that came down to the fact that they could not get the actual fire alarm rep to come in to get that stuff done once we did the change order to them. And yes, we did do the a CCUA earlier for the cost of that, and added the time in later because of the fact that we ended up losing the time later on. I agree with you on breaking up the time and the money. I don't like doing that either. It was just not, it wasn't great all the way around. And I know that we try to make it as simple as possible, but yeah, I had heartburn with this also. But in the essence, them not getting 185 days without compensation. And that's what I worked through. They never asked for compensation for it, and that, like I say, I agree with you on a lot of those cases, John.
Did you ask the contractor for more detailed explanation for his delay, or did they not want to provide it, or what was the story there?
And if I would have asked them for it, John, they would have given it to me. I was trying to keep it as simple as possible, and that's an error on my part.
Okay. Yeah, I'm still just not happy with this one. I think that's all the questions I had about it, but I understand you all think that the contractors do the 185 days, but you just didn't prove it on paper, and I'm going to have to vote no on this one.
Dave, a question I've got, I guess, in thinking of lessons learned. Are you trying to hold contractors' feet to the fire that when they ask for an extra, they have to tell you whether there's extra time? Fortunately, we haven't had a lot of rain, but a lot of times we've had contractors submit, last-minute closeout change orders for extra time and try to blame it on rain. That's not this case.
No.
But that's easy to do if they haven't asked for time at each time a change order came up. So, if we hold the contractors, all of them, their feet to the fire and say, look, you're going to ask for more money. You got to tell me you're going to need more time then, because we're not going to do it at closeout.
Well, and that's part of the challenge. This group is the first round, and we were getting our staff up to speed on things. As you said, it would be the best idea to ask for those changes at the time. In general, we have these things happen, and they do tell us when it happens. If we don't push them for a change order, including the time at that time, or at least the notification process, which is the first part of the change order, if we don't have them give us that, that's our fault. Ultimately, we pay the price at the end. We have to do it and accept it. I don't think any of these were nefarious. I don't think any of the information that's been provided it falls out of the ordinary. A lot of the changes that we have, and not necessarily on this one, we have one situation where the principal won't allow us to do the work, won't allow us to operate in a certain area. These are delays that occur. If we worked with every single delay that a principal or that the school puts on us, or maintenance or whomever, that would be an extensive process. I think what Glenn is getting to is we tried to simplify this and say, this adds up to 185 days total. I think in general, yes, we are doing a better job now of keeping track of those changes and making sure they get recognized upfront, not delaying until the end of the project and then doing that. Oh, look at that, we're 25 days over. How we give them a change order for 25 days? I know what you're talking about. Glenn said it. We don't like doing that.
Hey, just with Glenn again, just for clarification too. State contracting, when they did see the delays, I did get letters of delays from them on each of these cases, and we don't usually apply the time until the end, because if there's a place where they can make up the time, that's what we do. So we do by contract. They're supposed to notify me within 10 days of the delay. They had done that via email and letters, and I have to respond back to them within 10 days for just acknowledging the fact that we've got it. And they did ask for the days, or said that there was a potential delay. They didn't actually have day, how many days there was going to be, but there was potential of delay claim letters put in.
Okay, well, this is going to go back. This is going to go in the back of my mind for future selections with state contracting. I mean, if they can't submit a proper delay claim, we shouldn't be giving them work. So that's another retribution, I guess, on this.
Yeah, I guess, John, the way I look at these is because there's no extra money involved and they've extended the schedule and we got everything done when we needed it. It's like, okay, paperwork stuff happens, so I don't get a lot of heartburn over it. But, you know, very glad that you're looking at the details.
And you guys also I'll put the feedback to state. They have a bunch of projects with us. They have 2 or 3 more with me. They have a bigger project with a couple other people. So I'll give them the feedback. They are a good contractor. They just need to be able to, like you say, John, detail this out a little bit better.
David Porter, responding to you though, again, it's I don't know if in this case, I mean, I'll take Glenn's assurance on it, but there seemed to be time in there that was not the fault of the classroom lighting and the strobes. I mean, it's hard to tell, but yeah, I understand it's non-compensable, but again, there's probably $2,000 a day liquidated damages here that we're forgiving because the contractor was late 6 months on this project. So that's why I need to pay particular attention to it.
Okay, Lou.
Yeah, I'm not sure I understand what John is accepting this or voting no.
Well, we need to vote.
There's a reason why. Let me explain why I asked.
We're not ready for the vote yet. I haven't taken a motion, I don't believe. I don't think we had a motion yet. No. I want to see if anybody else online has any comments or questions on this. Okay, I'm not hearing or seeing anyone. So let's go for a motion to move forward with FC2. Do I have a motion? Lou makes a motion. I need a second. Need a second to move forward. Steve seconds it. Okay, now we will vote and I will poll each person that's allowed to vote. John?
Yeah, I'm voting no. And the reason is because a detailed delay schedule analysis was not provided by the contractor.
Okay, Lou?
I'm voting yes.
Okay. Steve? Yes. I'm voting yes. Michael?
No.
Okay. Then we have a 3-2 in favor, so it passes, and
it was a second negative vote.
Michael Gelfand was a no vote.
I have a comment.
Okay, go ahead, Lou.
Not adequate notification. We have to give us a scheduled delay analysis. An adequate scheduled delay analysis. Yeah.
Lou, we'll make sure that Jim or I put that in the description when we send over the information to you.
That would help.
Absolutely.
Well, essentially, they did not give us a detailed analysis for why they were asking for 185 days. There was a bunch of little snippets here and there for why they were getting there. John was looking for a more detailed kind of line item. Here's what caused the delay, to basically be able to trace 185 days that they were late.
See, my problem is the impact.
In terms of performance, the school money didn't exist.
So we're copying the guy's wrist piece of paper, and it isn't clear to me whether we had the paper and didn't do anything with it, or we didn't write the form contract that gave it to us. I'm having trouble figuring it. But I'll rely on.
I think John's point is that the failure to be done on time, according to the original schedule, the school district would be entitled to compensatory damages, the liquidated damages for extending beyond that. If there's justification why the contractor shouldn't be subject to that, his argument is they didn't do a good enough job arguing why they aren't subject to the liquidated damages. That's the premise behind their analysis wasn't good enough to support the claim that they weren't responsible for liquidated damages.
Okay.
Okay, that one passes 3-2. We will go on to the next one that's pulled. PC10, John, you pulled that.
Okay, this is a good one too. Let me just start with CORC and the board approved the CM term contracts, but we didn't approve the First Amendment on this project. But now we're asking for approval of this next amendment. Could you explain that?
Absolutely. As you're aware, this term contract has a limit, and purchasing can answer to what those are. But it's basically a $2 million contract limit per project. That term contract, when it got approved by the board, that's the only time the board needs to see those contracts, the GMP, except for closeout. On many of the projects we do, our policy requires all closeouts go to you guys and the board. So we will do entire roof replacements and whatnot that are under $2 million from soup to nuts, design and construction, and only come to you and show you the closeout. Because the contract, the individual projects don't require board review. The overall CM $2 million under term contract went one time to the board. We still report to you when these things happen. But we don't, there is no approval.
Okay, I thought we had oversight of projects, construction projects.
And we do report to you, but we don't, this isn't an item that warrants CORC vote. When the contract, the $2 million under contract got approved, you did vote when that $2 million under contract got presented to the board.
Sure.
Once it got approved, all the individual project ones, whether they're $50,000 or $1.8 million, all of those contracts don't have to go to CORC or the board. The only time we take anything to the board on those projects is on the closeout.
Is that a policy somewhere? Or is that just a general rule that you follow?
I don't know if Mark Moon is on or Darcy, if they want to weigh in on the procedures.
John, the utilization of the continuing contracts is explained as allowed in Florida statutes. You approved, CORC and the board approved each of the CMs under contract. And then as Dave explained, when work is assigned, that work is not taken to the CORC and board every time that we need to assign work to somebody for a $50,000 or an $80,000 or $100,000 project. You've already delegated the authority to use those firms under contract up to $2 million.
So this is David Porter then. Question, so we have 10 roofs at $1 million each. They all get approved without ever going before CORC or the board because they're under $2 million each, correct?
Well, we would probably take, if we were doing like 3 roofs going to state and 3 roofs going to off-site or whatnot, we wouldn't break them up as individuals to try to go against the rule. If we were packaging them to a contractor, we would likely, if we were doing something like that, where we had 10 roofs, we'd do 3 roofs to one vendor and we'd do an RFP. We wouldn't do 3 individuals.
Yeah, I know, but I guess what I'm getting at as a question is that if we were just doing roofs and you went to, you know, the major roofing companies and they're listed on the under the 2 million or under, then the policy and the procedures allow you to just go out for 10 different roofers for 10 different roofs at $1 million or $1.9 million each without going to the board and without going through CORC. I just want to clarify how the process is allowed to work.
It is.
Okay, I mean, I don't know if that's something, Lou, even for the board to be aware of. Not that staff's going to do that, but we probably have, where we've gone out to just do a roof. To the point that, okay, does the board really understand that the statute went up to 2 million, which allows us to go up to 2 million? Didn't it used to be 300,000? I thought the pre-qualified were 300,000 before, and now it's 2 million because the statute changed.
No, that's a different one. 300,000 or under is one contract, vendor contract. Mark, I want to say 3 years ago.
Let me just, Dave, let me just explain.
Please do better.
There's a contract that exists through goods and services to allow for general contracting services for projects up to $300,000. Those firms that participate on that contract go out and they bid every time against each other, but they are not required to be pre-qualified because they're not required to, because the contract is for projects under the $300 threshold. There's a statute that requires, and board policy requires, contractors that want to participate on projects, whether it's hard bid, CM at risk, builder, you know, any kind of construction project valued at $300,000 or greater to be pre-qualified. Okay, that's the pre-qualification program, the PC1 you see every month come before you. Then there's the continuing contracts that are allowed under statute to select contractors, CMs, to provide CM services, and we do that and bring those contractors, those CM, to the board for approval, which you approve, and that statute allows the use of each of those firms up to, for projects up to $2 million. And that's the way it's been for a long, long time, and that's the process we've used for a long, long time, and that's what statutes allows, and that's what staff is able to utilize to get small projects done quickly without having to go out for a selection or a hard bid every time there's a $100,000 or a $200,000 project. You're making a point of $1.9 million roofing projects, which quite honestly are put out for hard bid because CMs are not competitive on those kinds of contracts, and we hard bid those to our pre-qualified roofing contract.
He's right. We tried that on an emergency case on one project. I want to say with Del Prado, with state, and it cost us more. And Mark is absolutely right. On roofs, we put them out through the roof bid.
So, Mark, one final question on that. With the up to 2 million under continuing contracts, we have more than one CM, I guess, or one roofer under continuing contracts that are already selected. Do you then it's who's next in line that gets the offer, or are the people that are all on the ones that have been selected for continuing contract have to bid on that work?
There's nothing that requires us to do this, but in the interest of fairness, we track the work that's allocated to each construction manager when they're utilized for work, and we assign work based on allocations so that all the firms essentially are utilized equally during the terms of the contract.
Okay. John, you got anything else on this?
Yeah, just real quick, Dave Dolan. So the reason we're seeing this is you're saying we see all closeouts of any work that's under those term contracts? Is that your answer?
That's my understanding, is any construction contract we're supposed to take to you for, like a CM at risk contract, we still have to do a final reconciliation and present that to the board.
Those individual work orders to those CM term contracts. We see
CM
those.
at risk. Yeah, the individual term ones. Yeah. So for example, I think, I'm going to get this wrong, but I want to say either Bach or Dreyfus Cooper has a project for $800,000 worth of stair repairs, all the metal stairs. That's a GMP that you did not see when it came through. The work's getting done. When it gets done, it will, yeah, it is Bach. When it gets done, when we have to reconcile that closeout, the board will see, you will see that as a standalone item, as a closeout item.
Okay, one last comment on this, or one last question on this particular item. This is for 142,000. What are we getting for 142,000? What is that for?
It's extended design services. We tried to explain it. If I had to, I'd have to write a narrative to what really happened. But basically, each and every one of the, and I want to say the Jim, 15 projects, 17 projects that are listed, each one of them, we gave Gilbane a pre-construction services for a general allotment of, say, $2,500. I'll use a round number. Not realizing that the scope was going to be that much bigger. It wasn't going to be a handful of devices. It was going to be a lot of devices. The reason we didn't know that is school police gave us the scope after we had entered into a pre-construction for $2,500. So the extra money really covers the additional devices to do the work. They provided us, I know you asked us about design services. I'll call it a design service that they provided us because in fact they got the documentation necessary to acquire the permits for all of those devices at a given school. So it went from 2,500 to say 12,000 was really the amount that we should have originally contracted with them for each of those schools.
Okay, I got to ask it again though. You just said that the money is for the devices or is it for the design?
For design. It's for the design of additional devices.
Okay.
We're trying to oversimplify it for the group. It's to say we probably entered into a pre-con for 5 devices. When we found out what the scope was from school police, it was probably more like 25 devices. So that original pre-con needed to be supplemented by another 10 or something. And that's really what this comes down to. Each and every one of the 15 schools got a supplement to cover the full course of the design.
Okay, I'm not happy about it, but motion that we move PC10 forward to the board.
Okay, need a seconded by Lou. Now a poll. John?
Yes.
Lou? Steve? And I'm a yes. Michael Gelfand?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, that clears us up for
Mr. Porter?
consent.
Mr. Porter, can I just
Yeah.
I want to correct one thing that was said that needs to be clarified is that when we have a hard bid contract that does not have any allowances or does not need to be rectified, we do not bring that back to the board. We don't want to delay payment for a contract that has completed its terms.
If there is no reconciliation, he's absolutely right. There's no reconciliation, meaning no allowances, no extras that are unqualified. Those don't have to come to the board. And we do have clarification. Yeah, legal even supported the clarification on that.
Do you know what percentage that is?
I'm sorry?
Do you know what the percentages of the total? Is that a small part of 50%?
God, Jim, what are we at? 2 or 3 top?
On minor projects, it happens all the time because we hard bid a lot of things with our term vendors. But there's very few larger projects that get paid out without going to the board.
So on the project that we're talking about, CORC and the board does not get to see the project cost because it's done under the continuing contract. But under continuing contracts, then CORC and the board are expected to approve all the final stuff, even though we weren't involved in any of the initial decisions.
The reconciliation, your review and the board's approval is of the reconciliation of the contract. What monies we're giving back, what monies were part of contingency or allowances that were utilized or determined to give back.
So both CORC and the board basically have no say as to whether they agree or disagree with the initial price, because that's all done by staff under the allowed procedures.
Delegated authority.
Okay. All right.
Well, it's just not the cost. We don't get to approve the project. I mean, they could have $1.5 million dollar project to make this building bigger, and we wouldn't know anything about it, or approve it, or the board wouldn't either, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I think we would, because that would have to come out as new construction work. And wouldn't it have to be on the 5-year plan that we also get to look at?
Yes. Yes.
I mean, just like if there was a building, in addition to this building, that would have to be allocated funds in the 5-year plan that we would know about as we get to look at and review the 5-year plan.
Yeah, but they make changes to the 5-year plan all the time, I would think. I don't know.
Once a year.
Once a year. That's it. Once a year. And we get to see it every year, just like the board does.
The $800,000 box stair, the $800,000 box stair project, that's a CSIR. You don't really get to say whether we approve that or not. That project has to go forward. Whether we did it for the right amount, we do have our check in place. That's probably one of the biggest ones that where we get up to that level. And I'm not sure where you're leading towards. I'd rather you just tell me.
Well, I'm not sure how I'm leading towards either, other than I thought CORC's purview was construction projects, and I thought let's just use the security project as one. It's new work. It's a security project that I thought we should know about, in my opinion, but that's just my individual opinion.
And I understand. You'd then be introduced to everything Jim does. I'll show you, there's a handful that'll be on my project list. But Jim probably has 80 projects, minor projects, that are all going. Those are construction projects. You don't want to see those.
Yeah, I don't know what the limit is. I'm just not comfortable with it. That's all.
Hello, this is Leanne. I just want to chime in for a little bit. The capital plan does include all the major projects. All the new schools, modernizations, additions are all broken out. But then there are smaller projects, and the security projects are a good one. We just list security projects as a lump sum. We don't list the amount for each individual one because there's hundreds of them. And we never know the scope at the beginning of the year to know exactly what's going to be done. We just know we're working on security projects and there's an overall budget that every school's to be touched. So when you mention this capital plan, you all do see that, the board sees that. It includes all the large projects. It doesn't include every individual project because there's so many that come up. I mean, we get 10 to 20 projects a week that are set up between maintenance and construction. The volume would be massive. And we don't always know what they are. A lot of times it is life safety issues. It's things that come up throughout the year. Sometimes funding comes in from other sources and projects are added to the plan. So the goal with the capital plan is to get all the big ones in there. We certainly want the board to approve those. Those are also on the advertisement for how tax money will be spent. but we also lump things together. So security projects are lumped together. Roofing, sometimes we break those out if they're large projects. Also